Collective, you know what's funny is you notice this, like for some people, it seems like for a lot of people, for quite a few people, like their parents were heaven sent, like their parents are angels to them. Like you hear people say it all the time. My parents were heaven sent. They were truly, truly my angels from heaven, and I don't know what I could do without them, right? But collective, you can't relate to that. Like you're the whole your experience is completely opposite, right? Most people feel like, oh, their parents were heaven sent. You feel like yours were sent straight from hell, collective. This message ain't gonna be for everybody, but for the ones who get it, y'all gonna feel me on this one, right? And for a while, that kind of like would make you feel a little jaded or bitter or frustrate you to hear people speak so highly of their parents, because that was a testimony, that was an experience that you could not relate to in any way, like at all. Like you might have had moments where you've shared intimate moments with your parents. You might have had quite a few moments where they showed their humility, but overall, on a grand scale, in the grand scheme of things, in the majority of your childhood and upbringing, your parents were sent from hell. Like, you experienced all types of different types of abuse, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, actually, like, and over time it did something to your spirit. It kind of like, it just kept tinkering and tinkering and ticking and chipping away at your spirit, right? To the point where you just became this emotionally dead, numb person, Like, there were you have so many bad experiences from your childhood that where you are now in life, it's a 180, and you have this disassociation from your past. See, before, you used to be so deeply rooted and connected to your past and your childhood and your upbringing, and you were still so emotionally attached to all of this trauma and pain. So anytime that you went through a difficult time in life, anytime that someone triggered an emotional wound from what you've experienced, all of these feelings came up, and you would breathe more life into this trauma, right? And it's like you would reignite these wounds all over again, and you're going through this pain all over again. And for so long, this happened to you in cycles, throughout your life. And you went through a bulk of your life under this dark cloud of depression because of your attachment to the trauma that you've experienced. But now you're someone who've done that emotional work, and you got rid of all of that excess baggage to where you're completely detached from the emotional trauma and experiences that you went through your childhood and upbringing. So now you can look back and review those moments and observe them without having feelings attached to it, right, collective? Before, you would revisit those same scenarios and incidents, and you were emotionally charged, so you might have felt angry, or you might have felt upset, or you might have felt sad when you would revisit those things. But now when you revisit, because you've done so much healing, there is no connection there. You're just observing. There's no connection, no emotional connection. So it cannot hold. It cannot last in your energy, right? This is how much you have grown. But I want to let you know that, it's not all in vain. Like, you're the type of person that you've learned from, like, what your trauma has taught you, because it's made you the person that you are today, and so for a while you used to regret having these types of parents, because for a while you were in cycles that were very extremely uncomfortable and painful to go through. And you thought you needed, you wish you had, guiding light to help you through these uncomfortable moments in your life. And that's what usually parents are for. They're there to support you financially. They're there to support you mentally, emotionally, right? But unfortunately, you didn't have that support system. They weren't there for you. They were still dealing with their own emotional traumas and whatever, and the fact that they had kids, they didn't care, so they couldn't be there for you because they couldn't be there for themselves, But this made you tap into areas in your own spirit and your soul that you probably would have never thought possible, right, collective? Like, their lack of guidance and parenting and care and love has pushed you into unknown territory that you would have never went into had you got their love, had you got their support. You wouldn't have been able to reach out into this untapped, unknown territory for your survival. But because they failed to do their job, it forced you out into the unknown, into uncharted territory. And now you were able to tap into your true potential. Now you were able to cultivate and sculpt your own destiny, your own skill set, right? Through these experiences, through these life hardships, right? Looking back now, it makes sense to you, collective, but I'm sure in the moment as you were going through those things, you had no clue. You were just trying to survive. You were trying to figure things out. So how you moved and operated at that time was just you getting through to the next day, right? But over time, as you started to learn and develop and read and experience things, you started to develop skills, and then you started to create this discipline for yourself. And it's like you develop these skill sets through survival, right? You were forced to do things a certain way because you had no other choice. And then once you've done that and you learn, whoa, okay, I actually like doing it that way. That actually saved my life. This is going to keep me protected. This is going to keep that type of person away. This is going to help me heal. Oh, okay. So now you're starting to experiment. You're experimenting with a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Because, again, you don't have these heaven-sent parents to help you get through your life's obstacles. See, the difference between you and someone who had that support is they're going through these struggles in life, but guess what? They have this guiding light. They have their parents financially supporting them when they get in a financial strain. They have their parents supporting them emotionally when they get in an emotional strain, right? So they have this extra baggage, this security. So they have a different type of confidence. They have a different type of, backing. They're not going to work as hard. They're not going to try as much because they're not going to fight as hard because they know that they have backup. They know that they have a fallback plan. They know they can run back to their support system. See, you didn't have that fallback plan to fall back on. You didn't have people to run back to if you messed up and made a mistake. So you were forced to do things and be more fearless and be more ruthless and be more strong than a lot of people, collective, because you had no extra support. You had nothing to fall back on. So it was all or nothing with you. And a lot of the times you struck gold, collective, and this sets you apart from those people. I know you're thankful now that you didn't have that support system, because now you taught yourself how to rely on yourself. You taught yourself how to trust in yourself. You taught yourself how to see and walk and run and fly and move in darkness. You know how to sit still with yourself in silence and be at complete peace with yourself. You trust in yourself so much because you were forced to trust in yourself. you were also forced to grow. You had no choice. Either you were going to evolve or fall off. Like, collective. And like I said before, it used to frustrate you a lot when you would notice that you see people out here with parents that are so supportive. People like you probably had in the past, like when you were in school, like maybe you ran track, maybe you played sports, done some type of extracurricular activity that you were excited about, but your parents were never there to show up and support you. They never came out to any events. They never shared the news around to other family or friends in the neighborhood. They didn't show you off at all. Like, you were this type of person, collective. Anything that you tried to do, like, they didn't really, it was just dry or no response. You know what I'm saying? I feel like also, like, when you were expressive and you showed up as your true authentic self and loving, kind self, a lot of the times your parents completely ignored you. It was like they were emotionally numb. It was like them seeing you in your happiest, brightest, joyous moments was a threat to their own happiness. This is the type of household you were raised in. Some of y'all, collective, sad, right? This is what it is, This is the type of family you were raised in. You were raised in a family of hell, right? And you had to learn how to deal with your own demons and devils. You had to learn how to survive among demons and devils, right? Because if you didn't, you would have got devoured whole, right? So you had to learn. You were thrown in, like, it was like you were just literally thrown into a pack of wolves. Literally. And then it's like, you're not, and it's almost like you had parents too who loved to see you suffer. They loved to see, like, because they hated seeing you happy, they would literally put you in situations to make you feel bad about yourself or to get you off of your joyous high horse, right? They didn't like how free you were and how free you lived your life, right? Because they let society bog them down with their own limitations. So now you coming into this world free of those limitations, now here they come trying to put that block back onto you and cap you down and make you small, just like the world made them small. And for so long it worked, collective. For so long your family had this hold over you where they limited you, where as soon as you were feeling good about yourself, they would say something that would knock you back down. They would say something hurtful or do something hurtful to you, right? And they done this over and over and over so many times in your life. You know what I'm saying? And this is why you had to distance yourself and remove yourself from these people, because it's like these people, like, and you tried to work with them because they were your family. You know what I'm saying? Like, you tried to work through problems and issues, even stuff that you knew wasn't even your fault. You still tried to hold yourself accountable, and it still never worked out. They still wanted to play in your face. They still wanted to just disrespect you, make you seem like you're the crazy one or the outcast. Still to this day, collective, like, you tried to work with your family on multiple occasions. Just because you said, hell yeah, they are my parents, so we only get one of them, so let me try. You tried. But they're still selfish. They're still set in their ways. They're still bitter. They still hate you to the core. So they still continuously try to sabotage you and your relationships and your connections in life. Still to this day. So you got fed up and you said, you know what, the hell with that. I'm done. I'm cutting them off, cold shoulder. I don't want nothing to do with them. And now you realize how much more peaceful your life is. You realize how much more abundant your life is and how much happier you feel without these people in your lives. It's so sad to say that, collective, that you're more happier without your family, your parents in your lives. People who you thought were supposed to be in your life. People who you thought were you would spend the rest of your life enjoying creating these moments with. But they turned out to be the demonic forces in your life that were trying to stop your growth and your prosperity. Who knew? I just did a video that I feel like I was switched at birth. Go check that video out if you haven't. But it's giving that energy, collective, that, you're like, you must have been switched at birth, because there's no way that your caregivers are treating an innocent soul like you. You just were born into this world. It's not like you had these, you know what I'm saying? You were just being yourself, and you were persecuted and attacked just for being you in your own. So for years, you went around in your body not confident in who you are, not trusting in who you are, because every time that you tried to be yourself, you were told that you weren't good enough. You were told that that was not it. You were told that you were not perfect and you need to fix this and that. You were always told that there's something wrong with you. So you went around life walking around like there's something wrong with you, literally. And this affected every aspect and area of your life, right, collective? But now you've gotten to this point now where you've removed yourself energetically from your family, from your parents, and now you see the difference. You see how happier and healthy you are without them. So now you're in this period of thriving, collective, right? And you learned how to navigate life without them. You learned how to heal those wounds that they destroyed. And then you faced your own demons. Now, some of your family and your parents, they're desperately trying to get your attention, desperately wanting your help, desperately trying to get back in your good graces, because they see now that you're out of the picture and you're still doing good, that you were never the problem. And a lot of them will try to get back and try to guilt trip you or make you feel bad, but it's going to be up to you if you want to allow them back in or not. That's going to be up to you, collective. But me personally, I don't want no parts of people who I went my whole life trying to convince that I'm worthy, just for them to play in my face continuously and to continuously just shit on me on purpose. I refuse to let those type of people back in my life. It's not like they hold themselves accountable. It's not like they're truly apologetic, because when you're truly sorry, you know that they change behavior. These people aren't changing their behavior. They're only changing their behavior temporarily to get back into my good graces. And then they start the shit show all over again once I'm back in. I've seen the pattern too many times happen. And I'm done with that pattern. I'm done with that cycle. You're not getting back in my good graces. I don't care how much love bombing you do. I don't care how much begging you do. I don't care how much crying you do. I don't care about none of that. It's too late. They blew it. I'm a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, collective. You are once in a lifetime. When they miss out on you, they miss out on you. Why? Because you fought tooth and nail to try to prove your worth, just for them to slap you and play you and dismiss you and play you to the left. So now you're only going to deal with and focus on people who value your time and attention. Other than that, what are we doing? Other than that, what are we really doing? They're only trying to get back in your good graces because you removed yourself, and they see that you're still thriving without them. You were never the issue, and they know you were never the issue. They just were hoping you would not see it. They were hoping you would stay asleep and be stupid enough to continue to be used and taken advantage of. But you're not stupid, dumb, or slow. And you're not going back. You're done with all of that. You don't care about nothing, about none of that. They be trying their hardest to get your attention, but you're shutting it down. And if they keep playing with you, collective, if they keep trying, I feel like they're going to get their feelings hurt real quick and real fast, because you're going to let them know and shut it down. You've been trying so hard and so nice. You've been falling back and staying cool. But something's going to come up out of you that you probably don't even know if they keep playing with you, collective, because you've had enough. You've already tried. You're done trying. And you're past that point of trying to prove yourself, and you're past that point of wanting a reconciliation. You don't care. You moved on with your life and you just want them to move on from theirs, okay? You've been learned your lesson with them, so you need them to learn their lesson and move on. It's over. It's a wrap. No one cares. You moved on. You're not in victim mindset. You're not playing the victim. You're not pointing the finger and blaming them. You've taken accountability for your actions. You've healed. You've grown. They're irrelevant. You're moving on. But see how they're trying to make themselves back relevant? It's funny how when you were so irrelevant to them and they were just dismissing you left and right, but you were still showing up, showing them love. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Now all of a sudden you're relevant. Now all of a sudden you're so important. Now that you made them irrelevant, now that you played some left, now you're irrelevant, collective. See how the roles switch? But they're going to forever say switch because you're not running back and you don't want reconciliation. Okay? And I hope you won't be tough enough to go back. Okay? Because you're smart and you're onto them games and you know that these are just manipulation tactics. They haven't changed. They haven't. They're just trying to change their tactics. They ain't never going to change. So poof. Be gone. Collective, who am I talking to? If you resonate with this message, if you feel me on any level, let me know down in the comments below because I definitely want to hear your story, all right? If you are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of our tribe. Listen, we are growing and we are flowing and we are glowing over here, okay? Love y'all. It is Kar. I'll talk to you guys later.